Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Cade Bonsall, and once again, I'm joined by my friend Chris. And today we are going to be talking about Netflix's Daredevil. So, hey Chris, welcome back.
Hey, Cade, glad to be back.
Good to have you back. So, Netflix's Daredevil. I got to tell you, I think this might be one of the best superhero shows of all time, especially one of the best Marvel shows of all time. And I think that, it's up there with shows like Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Arrow, but I think this has always been my favorite superhero show. Where does it sit with you?
This one is definitely this is where Marvel should have taken a lesson from. The Daredevil show is by far the most well thought out, well written. Like you have a consistent story, you have character development, you get the backstory, you get the actual story. If Marvel just took something from this, anything, it should have been that, and then consistently made movies like that, and then they would hit a home run every time they did it. I think this show is definitely top notch.
It is a top-notch show. And I think one of the things that makes it such a great show is the hero himself, Daredevil, aka Matt Murdock. Because, well, here's the thing about Daredevil, not just in the show, but as a character in the comics and everything else. I think what's cool about Matt Murdock is, well, one of the things that makes him rootable is the fact that he's a very sympathetic hero and character because of what happened to him as a kid, how he lost his sight, how he lost his dad as well, and everything he went through to become Daredevil. He's more sympathetic in that way. And I find sympathetic heroes the easier to root for in that way.
Yeah, it definitely brings it down to more of like a human instead of super powerful hero. It brings it down to more of a human level, even though he does have this, this, I guess it's a power, to be able to still see in a way, but he's still, it's more relatable. It's the way it's written with him and his upbringing and his story. It's it's the kind of like origin story that, I mean, we see it a couple of times, or if you're a huge Batman fan, you've seen it before, but in a TV show, you have time to really dive into this story, and then that's what brings out a good emotion. That's what makes you care about this hero, and you get to watch him fail, you get to watch him succeed, and you're rooting for him. It's yeah, he's very well written. Murdoch, the Daredevil. The best thing about it is like when this film originally came out, or the show originally came out, I was worried because of the original Daredevil that came out with Ben Affleck. I'm not gonna lie, I did not hate that movie because I do like Daredevil, but I was worried that it was gonna fall somewhere around there. But the way this is written and the way this actor just portrays it, I I, I am sold. I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard that the show was gonna happen, I did have my doubts about it because I was worried, well, I mean, they're either gonna do good with it or there's a chance they might not do so good. And plus, remember, it was the first live action Netflix Marvel show before Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Iron Fist and everything. So I think there was a lot, it had a lot of shoes to fill because it had to be good to make sure that those shows could happen and people could root for him as well. But yeah, this show did very well with Matt Murdock as a character. And like you were just saying, that's one of the things I love about his character because he's compelling because he has his flaws, he makes mistakes, he doesn't make mistakes, sometimes he learns from his mistakes, sometimes it takes a while to do that. But one of the great things about him is that he's a guy who's always committed to getting the job done and always doing the right thing, even if he can't really figure out at the time what the right thing is. He's still committed to doing that, and that's what makes him such a good hero.
I agree. Yeah. And even that can fall back on him to be like a bad thing, but still, that's where he has his flaws. Like where we would probably do something different, he's doing something probably in in retrospect a little bit more heroic. And yeah, I mean, like I said, just all around a great character, especially in this one being a more mature version of a superhero film or TV show, a more mature version. You can dive deeper into his past or his origins because it was a dark beginning for him.
It was. And another thing that I think is really interesting about Daredevil as a character, again, both in this show and just in general, I think what's compelling about Daredevil is this. I mean, how many heroes are there who have superpowers that none of their enemies really know about. Because think about this, you have superheroes like, look at Superman. He can fly and lift buildings. Spider-Man can climb up walls and swing on webs, and everyone that they go up against knows about that. But Daredevil's blind and he has heightened senses, and none of his enemies know about that, and that's just interesting.
That might be the greatest thing for him, is the catching everyone off guard. Maybe that's like part of his superpower there is like, oh, I'm gonna fight this blind guy, no problem, right? Nope, there's a problem. Yes, he
Yep.
knows right off the bat, he knows. And that might be probably, I don't want to say maybe that's a lot of the reasons why he wins in some of his fights, but because you can tell when he fights somebody who knows he's blind. You can tell that there's a struggle there. It's a lot more of a difficult fight for him. But as soon as he goes up some thugs in like a hallway or something like that, they they think they got it, no problem. Yeah, no, the hiding sentence, all that, and the other thing is too is he's human. He can take a punch, but it hurts,
Yes,
and it
exactly.
shows.
Yeah. And I think aside from how great a character Daredevil is, another thing that really adds to the character in this show would have to be the actor, Charlie Cox. I think that I know that Vincent D'Onofrio is often considered the best performance in the show, and we'll get to him later, but I think like what doesn't get looked at enough is Charlie Cox's performance as Daredevil, because I really loved his performance as Daredevil, and I'm excited he's coming back for the reboot show. But yeah, I just thought he brought so much life to the character. And again, he made the character feel more human, and that was nice.
Yeah, like, well, for him, for Charlie Cox to come in, like I remember him from other movies, like one specifically Stardust. And I'm looking at this character in this particular movie. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I like his character. And then he's now Daredevil, but he kills it as Daredevil.
Yeah, he does.
It's amazing how he can just go from one to another, and like as an actor you should be able to do that, but he does it very well. And like I said, at first I had my doubts because, well, of many different things, but no, his performance as Daredevil is it sells. It's believable, along with all the other characters in the film show as well. It's all of them do a very good job at portraying, and it's all believable.
Well, and the way that you look at his performance and everyone else's performances, because of the fact that you're an actor, do you kind of look at it differently as well?
Well, when I do my acting, like I've done several different ones where I've had to portray a completely different than the last film that I did. So when I seen him come into this and play a blind guy, which he does really well. Like you could look at him and be like, yeah, he's definitely blind. He's His acting skills are, like I said, top notch. He's able to portray this character in a dark side and a believable side when he's in the courtroom, or when he's talking like all lawyer like, he's believable. Yeah, no, he's a phenomenal actor. And yeah.
Another thing that I think the show really nails very well is that it takes its time balancing both his lives, both as Matt Murdock and as Daredevil, because you have other superhero properties. Like if you look at the Batman movies, a lot of times they try to spend enough time with Bruce Wayne and Batman. With Superman movies, they try to spend time with Clark Kent and Superman. With this, the show takes its time to show Daredevil, but it also tries to show us, Matt Murdock as well. And I think what's great is that it really shows us the struggles of being both Matt Murdock and Daredevil. It shows us the hero, the struggles of being both a person and a hero at the same time, and it does a great job portraying that, just how difficult it is.
Well, because there's most of the superhero movies are movies. They have like 2 hour period, maybe 3 hours if they're pushing it. They can't flesh out a lot of the stuff that we would probably like to see, such as Batman. If they made a Batman film, you would flesh out the detective side of him, the more human side of him, the playboy side of him. But most movies or most films that we have are him always 100% in a costume. Yeah, he's sure he's playing detective as Batman. Yeah, sure he's fighting crime. But who's Bruce Wayne? In Daredevil, you have Matt Murdock. Then you have Daredevil. It's a really good balance between the two, and they do it very well in this one. And that's where if more superhero movies were adapted to film, or I mean, like a TV series, something like this, but like with a really good budget, you would get really good storytelling out of it, and a lot more in-depth character to come out for those kind of people who really want to know. Because like, yeah, we could read the comic books, we could watch the cartoons and whatnot, but a live action superhero TV show that really dives into the character, I think that's what a lot of people would like to see. Like a lot of like actual comic book fans or superhero fans, they know there's a whole other side that's missing.
Yeah, and like you were just saying, I don't know if it's ever going to happen at some point, but I think, and this kind of gets away from what we were talking about, but I think a live action Batman TV show similar to how this was portrayed would be awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've how many origin stories have we seen of Batman?
Quite
You
a few.
know,
Quite a
yeah.
few.
So like, if we just broke it down, we know the origins, but let's see the actual growth of him being the beginning to the end Batman. But like in Daredevil, you see it from the beginning, you see it in the middle, and then you see it where we're at. And the growing and the strength that this guy takes on, the weight that this guy takes on throughout the whole thing. It's like you're there with that character in every scene, and you can feel it. Like every emotion is there, and it's done like, yeah, it's so good.
It is good. And aside from Daredevil just as a protagonist, one other thing that I think is a real highlight of the show would have to be the main trio, and that is Daredevil, Matt Murdock, and also Karen Page and his friend Foggy Nelson. So when I watched the show, I loved how it wasn't just about Matt. I liked how it spent a lot of time with Karen and Foggy, and it really fleshed out their characters as well. And I think that they were just such a great, I think arguably they're kind of the heroes of the show in a way. And I think that they each have such a great dynamic with each other. And I think their dynamic was really the heart of the show in that way. And I liked how they each had their own role to play in the show as well.
Yeah, so having the trio there, like, Foggy does a great job doing things in the background. Like he's not a sidekick in the superhero world, but he's definitely a sidekick when it comes to Matt Murdock's actual life, the business that they created together. He's holding down the fort. And then Karen comes in, and was it episode 1? She comes in, she's killing it, and you actually get to see them grow throughout the entire series of season 1, season 2, into season 3. Now, I think in season 3, I didn't watch too much of it. I had to definitely dive into it a little bit, but I've noticed that the more the what how would you put this, the courthouse scene, the lawyer parts of the whole film kind of just are there, but now the audience really wants to see more of the Daredevil fight scenes, the more of the Kingpin, more of what's his name, Deadshot, Deadeye,
Bullseye.
Bullseye.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. You got Bullseye, you got Kingpin back, you got Daredevil. We're more interested now in that, where the other part, yeah, it's playing an effect, but it's more like, okay, now let's go back to there. Let's go back to Daredevil. Let's see more of that. But season 2 did a really good job because you had Elektra in there, you had the Hand, and bringing all those that kind of story into it, and Daredevil's. There's so much. But the trio in season 1, I think, really is held together in just that one season. Personally, I think with season 1, all that storytelling there, the trio was definitely it's brought more to light.
Yeah, and I think that one thing is the season 1 is when it was really about establishing the bond between the three of them. And season 2, I think, is when we saw them start to kind of drift apart from each other, which I think is something that audiences could kind of maybe empathize with or relate to, because that does happen with a lot of people in their lives. Some people drift apart at times, but then in season 3 you see them coming back together, and that was just really satisfying to see happen. It was like, oh man, I hope these guys rebuild their relationships at some point, and that did happen. And that's something that you root for, and that's usually something it's a feeling you want to have when you watch a movie or a show. You want to root for the heroes, and they are heroes that you can root for, and that's what's something that's really great about the show.
Yeah, yep, no, I definitely agree. I can see where you're coming from, with them coming back together in season 3. The only, like, the scary part is like, if we do get a season 4, which I hear there's something in development, maybe some talk. How much plot armor does this trio have? You know, is is somebody going to end up leaving. That's the sad part because you've really established a huge connection with all three of these characters.
Well, I do think that with the reboot show Daredevil Born Again, I've heard it's basically a reboot, but it's also pretty much a continuation. It's still Matt, it's still the same character and everything. But so far, I think he's been the only person who's confirmed to be in the show. It hasn't really been confirmed if Foggy and Karen will be in there. They might be in there at some point and they're just going to surprise us or something, but we'll see what happens. But aside from the main trio,
Mhm.
another character that really stands out, and he's probably one of the best things about this show, would have to be Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin. Oh man, what a performance he
What a
gave. He was
performance.
such an awesome villain. And D'Onofrio, you know what's great about him? What he did with this character. Here's like with Kingpin, he's so many things. He's menacing, he's intelligent, he's a mastermind, and he's also at the same time a very sympathetic villain as well because of what happened to him as a kid. And I think that because of that, having him be sympathetic, knowing what he went through, and also at the same time having him as this kind of, portrayed as this heartless monster, you were supposed to root against him, but at the same time we kind of do. I don't know if you feel this, but I kind of did root for him at times because of what happened to him and what he went through, but also just because of Vincent D'Onofrio's performance.
Yeah, he did a great job as Kingpin. Like that was made for him. That role was his role. No, but I definitely agree. Like the thing is like we only see two sides. You got the villain and you got the hero. But does the villain actually consider him a villain or does he consider him a hero? Because I mean, yeah, he has his upbringing, his origin story and all that kind of stuff, but like in his eyes, he's not really doing anything wrong. He's trying to do better. And it's probably an unorthodox way of going around it to do better. And you got Daredevil saying like, no, you can't do it that way. Now I have to kick your ass. But so
Yeah, of course. Yep. And I think that one other thing that really stood out is there's also a line from season one, or two lines that I think really stood out that, really relate to what you were just saying. He says, I want to rebuild the city. I want to carve something beautiful out of its ugliness. Or when he has his final fight with Daredevil at the end, he says, I wanted to make the city something better than it was. And I mean, okay, but still, you're still kind of the villain, but in the same way, you're also kind of the hero of your own story. And
mhm.
that's something that I think the show did really well. No one really felt like a sidekick. They were all the heroes of their own stories or arcs in the show. And Kingpin was definitely the hero of his own story.
Yeah, yep, no, I totally agree. Uh, and him coming back in season three and finally becoming the Kingpin and taking over his empire and all that kind of stuff. As bad as it sounds, I kind of want to see where that goes. I want to see where that goes. Like in the comic books, in the thing, Kingpin has his own empire per se. So I want to see that world that Daredevil has to fight in, and him being that sole villain.
That's probably what we're going to see in Daredevil Born Again because he's also been confirmed to be returning. And they've said that this show is really going to flesh out their rivalry a lot more, which I'm excited to see. But yeah, I think that he's probably one of the best comic book villain portrayals that we've ever had in film and television. I just thought he brought so much life to the character, and he was definitely one of the standouts of the show.
And once again, for one, that's great casting. That was excellent casting. He was meant for that part. Vincent did a great job. But the other thing is also excellent writing. They didn't veer off in some weird direction to give us all like this spin or anything like that. It's been consistent and it's something that the viewers can follow. It's something that it's a roller coaster that the viewers can ride and be like, yes, I like this. Every up and down has been, they've been a part of it. And it's the writing, it's the performances, it's the cast, it's all just, I don't know, man.
Well, yeah, and aside from Kingpin, I think one other thing that the show does really great would have to be the inclusion of other characters from the Daredevil comics. First off, one character who I thought really stole the show with every scene he was in was Stick, played by Scott Glenn, his mentor. I always thought that Scott Glenn, I kind of wished we saw more of him in the show because he only appeared in one episode for season one and a couple of episodes in season two. I always kind of wanted to get more out of him, because I really liked his character. I loved his performance. And it was so cool to see, this kind of aging blind guy being able to do all the things that he did. And then you remember, oh, well, he's the guy who trained Daredevil. Of course he can do all this. But yeah, he was just such a great character. And also, he's not your typical mentor to the hero, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I definitely get Splinter vibes from him.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
definitely get that from, like, he's not someone to trifle with. He is the trainer. He did teach and train Matt Murdock to become this, to hone in on his abilities, and I in season 3 when he kicks some butt in that season, it just shows you, it shows you the master at work, and yeah, no, he did a great job at playing that mentoring character. You could definitely feel the presence of him though when he was on screen, and Matt Murdock being like, you are the guy I talked to. You are the one that trained me. You could see that, you could feel it. It was very, very well done.
Yeah, of course. And another character who I thought they really did a lot of justice with was actually Elektra when they brought her in season two. Now, I will admit, season two of the show was probably my least favorite season because ultimately, I think that although it was still good, I think there was kind of too much going on because they had kind of, I know it's weird to say about a show, but they kind of had too many characters, in my opinion. And sometimes too many characters means too many storylines. And that was kind of the case. Nevertheless, I do think that Elodie Young did a really great job with her performance as Elektra. I thought she was written very well. And I thought that they really gave her a lot of, personality. And I thought she was done a lot better than the Daredevil movie from 2003 and the Elektra movie with Jennifer Garner. But yeah, I just really liked her character. I thought she had a lot of great personality. I thought she was a great example of an anti-hero as well. And also, most importantly, I loved her chemistry with Matt. I just thought that that was a great part of the show.
Yeah, because the chemistry was all along. It was supposed to be there. Even when they had the flashbacks of them going back and Murdoch whooping this guy in the in the chair, and Elektra was loving it. You could tell that this is who she was. She was an anti-hero. And then like later on when she comes into the show, and Matt's there, and their communication, the chemistry was there. I didn't know where it was going to go. What was going to happen next with these two? Um, but yeah, and then at the end, when all else was done, and what happened with the hand, and the how everything coincide together, and how they all work together, I do agree there was too many characters. I understand that they were introducing the characters so that they would have their own shows afterwards. They were just throwing them in there for that, kind of creating a that presence for those characters. But yeah, I think there was also just too much. The Punisher was a great addition. I liked it. Not like, for me, I do like the older Punisher. I think he did a great job though in this film. Elektra did a great job in this film. But yeah, I agree. It was a lot going on. And at the end, when they all came together and the Punisher's helping and Elektra was helping, it's like, this is the best fight choreography ever. This is almost John Wick style. But
Yeah, it is.
it was great.
Yeah, it was great. And I think, yeah, let's actually talk about Punisher for a second. So I think that I understand that you like the original Punisher better, but I will say that I think John Bernthal's performance in season two of Daredevil and also in the show, in his own Punisher show, I thought he really did a great job in the show. He just played the tragic, sort of sympathetic hero very well. And again, he's another anti-hero, which is always really fun to see. I always find anti-heroes to be really interesting because they're characters who you question whether you should root for them or not. And so that's a great thing about, Punisher in this show. And I liked how, he sort of challenged everything that Daredevil represented. Daredevil was a hero who only wanted to stop, crime, but also not kill. Punisher is the exact opposite. He just wants to kill all crime. And it really goes against everything Daredevil is. And it was so cool to see their rivalry kind of at the beginning of season two, because at the same time you're thinking, okay, so these guys are both supposed to be heroes, but we're seeing them fight each other. Who should we be rooting for? And you probably should be rooting for Daredevil because he's the star of the show, but at the same time you kind of do want Punisher to get some sweet revenge, if you know what I mean. So
Exactly.
it was fun to see that rivalry at the beginning, but then see it kind of evolve past that.
Well, once again, it's the same thing as the Kingpin. The Punisher has his reasons for doing his thing. He, for one, he doesn't feel like an anti-hero. He doesn't feel like a villain. He is doing his hero work. And they do not mesh with Daredevil's views at all. He doesn't kill. But then you think about the way the Punisher says it, or where the way he says, hey, I'm going to stop crime and I'm going to kill this guy because even if we let him go, he could do it again. Why risk that? And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, why would you risk that? This guy would do it again. I know it. So yeah, I mean, for both sides, it makes you think. It's a film, it's a TV show that makes you think. And I appreciate that a lot. It doesn't pander to their audience thinking like, oh, you don't know anything, let me explain everything for you. They actually let you think as a person. But yeah, at the very end though, like even when the Punisher jumps in and helps out Matt and whatnot, he's sniping these guys, and Matt's like, yeah, go for it, do it because I know what I have to do. But no, I agree. The performance, I'm not knocking him for the performance. The performance was done very well. The emotion was done very well. It was believable. He wants revenge. He wants to get out as much as, he gets sent to jail. The Kingpin offers him something. Even then, he's like, no, like, yes, but no. He gets out so he can continue doing his thing. And it was believable. I liked it. I think what the thing was is that it was a character thrown into another character's show. So until you got the actual Punisher TV show, you got a piece of somebody, a piece of an anti-hero, a piece of a character now. So it's like, okay, I see it, but I don't. I do and I don't. Performance great. I want the story now. Give me the Punisher show.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I get what you mean. All right, guys, I think that's where we're going to end part 2 of this discussion. If you want to go check out part 2, you can go check it out on the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, we'll see you there. Thanks. Bye.